Who doesn't want high-definition TV? Nobody! That's why you bought that big TV in the first place, right? But the thing is, plenty people got that big flat-screen TV for Christmas or their birthday or whatever, but they didn't get an HD cable box to go with it. That means that they're watching this regular TV signal on their big HD TV, and it could look so much better. See, an HD image is 4 times the size of a regular digital TV image. To get true HD, you gotta have Rev TV HD to go along with your HD TV. So here's the deal. You can get a Rev TV HD box today for about as much as you're paying now for your regular digital box. And you'll only pay half the cost to access over 100 HD channels with Rev TV HD. You're welcome.
Your HD TV deserves true HD, so upgrade to Rev TV HD today for just $4.99 a month for a limited time from Rev TV. Rev TV HD, how we define TV.
The Prime Minister lashes out at the leader of the opposition over what some have called insensitive remarks. Meanwhile, Dr. Hubert Minnis suggesting that the Free National Movement would repeal any tax that hurts the middle and lower classes. The diving industry facing a major blow if that is introduced. The fear that web shop gaming regulations may threaten democracy, and fishermen struggle to stay afloat in the wake of poaching and overfishing. We have those stories and more coming up tonight. Happy Easter Monday, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and your MB12 starts right now. Thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Perry Christie has called on opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis to apologize for last week drawing comparisons between missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 and the Christie administration. He said both are lost. Well, the Prime Minister shot back today while speaking in Mayaguana as Bahamas Air resumed flights to the island. Dana Smith reports.
Christie said lost lives are no joking matter, and Minnis should be condemned for his ill-spoken words about the Malaysia airline tragedy, especially, Christie said, given the Bahamas has suffered its own losses in aviation, such as last April's Mayaguana runway crash, which claimed 3 lives.
You can joke about politics, you could even seriously argue about your side of politics, but when you use as an analogy or an illustration in politics the loss of human life that has gripped the attention of the world, you are not speaking properly, you're not speaking wisely, you're not speaking humanely, and I have to tell you that this is a matter that will cause concern because people would be absolutely shocked and surprised that that is what you would do. And this is particularly true of an island nation where we've lost lives in the water, we've lost lives by air.
Last week, while criticizing what he described as a disorganized and indecisive Christie administration, Minnis had said the government is just as lost as missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. The flight has been missing since March 8th, and the plight of the plane has been highlighted in international media reports that often feature distraught relatives of those on board.
And they're somehow reminding me in terms of their loss. They're reminding me of the Malaysian airline that's lost and the entire world is looking for it.
Minnis's analogy was branded ill-conceived in a statement released by PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts. Roberts called on Minnis to recognize his folly, do the right thing, and offer a public apology to the public, foreign governments, and those affected by the Malaysia airline tragedy. Roberts also noted the country has had its share of aviation losses, including last year's incident in Mayaguana on April 4th. Roberts said it would be highly inappropriate and in poor taste for any foreign leader or personality to use Bahamian aviation losses to score cheap political points. The Prime Minister echoed the party chairman's statement.
Remember what happened here on this trip in Mayaguana. When Agnes called me 1 o'clock in the morning it was at the time, to tell me what had just.
Christie said those in public life must exercise care with their words, and it was silly of Minnis to use the Malaysia tragedy in an analogy.
This is not just a matter for the Bahamas, it's a matter for the world, where the attention of the world has been gripped, and people all over the world have been searching for an aircraft. People have lost their lives, and it is not a matter, it's a very silly thing to do.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
While opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis suggesting the Free National Movement would repeal value-added tax if the party were to return to office. Minnis says although the FNM agrees tax reform is needed, if any new tax is introduced that proves injurious to the country's middle and lower classes, the party would get rid of it.
Any form of taxation the government brings forth, if it's causing the greatest impact in terms of stress and hardship on the middle class and the poor, we will repeal and reverse.
Minnis's comments come amid the government's efforts to implement VAT, a tax that has been widely criticized by members of the public and those in the private sector. The FNM has also hit out at aspects of the tax, although the party has not offered an alternative. In the wake of persistent objectives, the Prime Minister announced VAT's implementation at a lower rate than expected and perhaps a later date. Minnis explained the middle and lower classes are already facing hardships and must be protected against any form of taxation that would damage those groups.
The middle class needs to grow, not shrink. Poverty needs to decrease, not increase. So any form of taxation that's pointed directly at those two groups that cause even more pain and insult and hardship on that group, the FNM will move forthwith to protect that group and repeal that form of taxation.
And the Bahamas is walking a razor-sharp edge on diving prices, and if value-added tax is introduced, divers fear they will be priced out of the market. Owner and operator of Stuart Cove's Dive Bahamas, Stuart Cove, says the dive industry in the Bahamas is just scraping by, and luckily no jobs have been lost yet. But if that comes on stream, he says the Bahamas may end up losing to its competitors in the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Hawaii, Cancun, and the Dominican Republic.
If you add on another even 5–10%, it's going to put us over the edge, and people they come to the Bahamas for the diving, but we're not the only people who have beaches and reefs. They can easily go out. Cancun's a lot cheaper. Dominican Republic's a lot cheaper, and they do have good airfare like we do to Nassau.
Cove maintains that VAT will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and he believes it will cause dive shops and other fishing operations to cut back. Rather, Cove says government is missing out on at least $5 million in possible revenue from boats that come to the Bahamas from South Florida.
They're leaving $5 million on the table just in the dive industry with these foreign liveaboard boats that come over, who are the dive shop, the transportation, the bar, the restaurant, the shop, all in one. They come, they clear customs, and then they go out and sit on our resource and for a week, and then when they're done, they go back to the United States, reload, and do it again. This has to stop, or if it's not going to stop, make them pay tax, make them pay even the playing field. We wouldn't be looking at this ridiculous VAT tax if government was collecting money where there's many other revenues streams out there that they could tap into.
In the 1990s, government introduced the Foreign Charter Yacht Act to encourage foreign commercial charter yachts to base their operations in the Bahamas. Since then, live-aboard vessels have taken advantage of the opportunity to compete directly with local dive operations, hotels, restaurants, and bars. Currently, Cove says a volunteer tax is levied on those vessels, while they are not held to the same standards of Bahamian operations, with no requirements to hire Bahamians, use work permits, or pay business license fees.
The way they're doing it now is a voluntary tax where they're supposed to pay 4% of their gross of their charter. The easiest way to do it would be a head tax, a bed tax. So if a boat has 10 beds, you charge them a fee per bed when they license it. So say it's $1 a bed, you pay $10 when you get your license fee, or if it's $10,000 or whatever the number is. That's something for government to decide, or Ministry of Finance. But we've come up with what we recommend would be a fair number.
The Bahamas Diving Association has proposed that government disallow foreign boats from conducting dive operations within 10 miles of any land-based Bahamas Diving Association member, that those vessels be based or docked in the Bahamas at least 9 months of a calendar year, and that foreign boats with dive operations join the Bahamas Diving Association. Cove says nothing has been done about it for the past 20 years over different administrations, but he hopes to see action soon.
It seems like they're untouchable. I just don't get it, and it's wrong. And I believe if these boats, whether they're bonefish boats, they have bonefish boats coming from the United States with 10 skiffs on it, and they'll go down to Acklins, Crooked Island, and launch these boats with foreigners, no Bahamian workers, and go bone fishing. And you think Crooked Island gets any money, or Acklins? They don't get a darn thing from this.
Well, if the Progressive Liberal Party administration follows through on a decision to introduce web shop gaming regulations later this year, it will pose a serious threat to democracy. That according to Democratic National Alliance leader Branville McCartney, who says it will be historic and dangerous for a government to go against the will of the people.
This will be historic if the PLP goes against the wishes of the electorate regarding a referendum. I think they have to be very careful as well from international perception as well regarding that. It is certainly not democratic, but they are in a bad situation. But they put themselves there.
Back in March, Tourism Minister with responsibility for gaming, Obi Wilshcombe, told the House of Assembly that he intended to present a proposal for the regularization of web shops to Cabinet and would push for it to be official by July 1st. McCartney says if that is done, there will be some fallout, but he notes that this administration has put that on itself.
So that was delayed, and when it finally came to fruition, it was a disaster. And now the government is in a position where they're saying they're going to go against the will of the people, notwithstanding putting questions to them, and there being a resounding no. So the government really, they put themselves in a really, really bad state. They called a referendum on legalizing web shops and the lottery, when in fact they could have done that. They could have gone through the legal process without the necessary referendum, and all of this would have been history. The government would have been collecting the necessary taxes on the web shops, and certainly on a lottery.
In January 2013, about 45% of registered voters turned up at the polls in the gaming referendum. The majority of those who voted no to regulating web shops and no to introducing a national lottery. At this point, McCartney says it's difficult to say if the PLP will be able to recover if it follows through on its bid to regularize web shops and go against the will of the people. He cautions this administration to also look at the possible repercussions of introducing value-added tax at a time when people are either uneducated or against the new tax.
I think the other question would be if they introduce VAT, there's no recovery for them on that one. That goes strictly to the Bahamian people's pockets.
While people are airing their concerns now, McCartney notes that voters tend to forget the missteps of government as we get closer to a general election.